from PRX.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, ZocDoc. You know, finding a doctor that you really like is kind of like finding a diamond in the rough. Searching, because you got to find somebody that's in your network. They're nearby. They take new patients. They have open time slots. But that's just the beginning, because then you want somebody that's going to listen to you, explain things to you in very clear language, follow up, and make you feel safe and cared for, right? So we all have our perfect doctor checklist because we deserve it. And that's why you got to check out ZocDoc. ZocDoc makes the whole thing easy. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. And we're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or any one of the other 200-plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. You want to see your doctor in person? Great. And if you prefer a video visit, you could do that too. And then there's those thousands of verified patient reviews that give you a real sense of who your doctor is. Whatever it is, you can feel confident that you can book with a doctor you know you'll love. And as I've said, since I've made my move, I've been checking ZocDoc, and I'm still using it as part of my search for my care providers. So you got to check it out too. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/sleep to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/sleep. ZocDoc.com/sleep. Thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and anyone rolling that 20-sided die called life. Sometimes I don't even think my dice has 20 sides. Most days I'm dealing with one of those most days. I guess this is true, because I have a lot of all or nothing thinking. That would be a coin flip, right? But my coin would be weighted towards the, it'd say, well, which all or nothing should we use? Because that's how we'll know which side this, because sometimes it's all not great and sometimes it's nothing great. I say, but this podcast here, take your mind off of that stuff. I'm just saying that because, I've been there. And I'm hoping for 20-sided die. I'm hoping to put you in a place, where it's a poofy poofer that's rolling, like a loofah. Well, maybe I'll invent a game called the loofah roll, where you say, well, we're rolling loofahs because we're in bed sleeping. It's called the loofah roll. But we took off those loop-de-loos that used to hang it from the... I'm trying to start a Time for Sleep With Me podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. I'm talking. This is not super sleepy message. It's not going to be sleepy at all. It's very important. I'm not trying to get a hold of you or change your mind if you can't support the show or you don't want to. I'm not here to change anyone's mind. But if you're that person who in your heart, you've already decided to support the show, there's just been some obstacle, not financial, in your way, whether putting it off, saying it doesn't matter, saying you'll do it one day, saying somebody else will do it, saying, yeah, I want to do it, but it's scary. I mean, that for me, I can relate to. I'm going to put it off because it just feels scary. In my heart, I want to do it, but it just still feels scary to me. I got to ask you not to put it off any longer. And the way you can figure out, whether it's your heart or your head is just to take a second. Imagine if you never found Sleep With Me. Picture when you discovered the show because it was free. If Sleep With Me is a paid service, you might have never discovered it, right? If it didn't exist, you would have never discovered it. And when you started listening, the show had some positive impact on your life because you found it, because it was out there and available to everybody. But if the show was only a paid service or it didn't exist at all, you would have never found it, right? And we need your support if that's the case. But we need it tonight. So think with your heart. And if your heart's saying yes, don't wait, because your thoughts and your brain bots will talk you out of it or put it off, and they'll put it off past the point the show's around. So go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, and support the show. Thanks. Oh, Mystery Bart, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bart. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mr. Bart. Don't forget, if you haven't heard about Surprised by Scooter, if you're spreading the word about the show, you're tagging me in social media or emailing me through the form on our website, I'm going to surprise some people who are spreading the word about the show, just letting people genuinely know about their experience with the podcast, with subscriptions to Sleep With Me Plus, maybe a personal video, maybe some stickers, who knows? So get out there and be surprised by Scoots. Thanks, everybody. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night, tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake. It could be thoughts, things on your mind, whatever you're thinking about, the past, present, future. So thoughts, feelings, anything you're experiencing emotionally that's coming up for you. Or you say, well, I don't know, it's just I got a vague sense of discomfort. And I say, well, boy, I've been there. It could be physical sensations. It could be changes in time or temperature or routine. Or just something, whatever it is that's keeping you awake. I'm here to take your mind off of that. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place. Maybe I already said that in the way, I'm going to smooth it. I got this safe place set aside here for you. I'm going to smooth it. I'm going to pat it. I'm going to rub it down. This is the first time that I can remember. I know loofahs have probably come up. Also, I don't know if that's an international term. The loofah may not be internationally known or known to rock a microphone because it's a loofah. It wouldn't do, it would say, I'm just a loofah. I'm not there for that. I'm just a loofah. That's like something, say, what's one step, Eeyore from that thingamajig, those cartoons and stuff? You say, you mean Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? And I say, thank you for getting that right. Yeah, Eeyore. I feel like Eeyore, but, you feel like a loofah then. Yeah, exactly. That's how I'm feeling. Okay, well, I'm here to help you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. Wait a second. Do you feel like a new loofah or, a loofah in use or previously used loofah? Never thought about it. Okay, we'll just start with the brand new shiny loofah. Okay, well, I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I'm going to go off topic and get mixed up, all to take your mind off of stuff so you can fall asleep. Now, a couple things as close to the beginning as I can tell you that you should know. Like, not everybody likes this podcast, and that's okay. Like, even the people that are regular listeners at first were like, I'm not so sure about this. They were skeptical. They were doubtful. Or they were just like, I'm not sure this flavor. I don't know if this is within my palate. And I'd say, yeah, that's totally normal. And that's why I tell people to give the show a few tries, because it just takes a couple tries to realize, even though I'll tell you these things now, it takes a couple tries still because it's a little bit counterintuitive. And of course, you'd be skeptical. Anything related to sleep and solutions you're going to meet with skepticism. Because we've experienced a lot of letdowns in that department. You say, this works for my Nana all the time. Well, how many hours a day does your Nana sleep? Well, maybe 16 hours a day. She also cuts lumber 4 hours a day, lives life to the fullest and then sleeps. That sounds nothing like my Nana. That would be an inside joke for regular listeners. Okay, but so this podcast is a little bit different. That's one reason why it takes a few tries. It's a podcast you don't really listen to. You know, most podcasts you listen to, and Sleep With Me is the kind of podcast you barely listen to. You say, okay, I was promised a loofah talk, and he never even he used the word loofah a few times, but he didn't get to talk. He was going to reinvent a loofah games, and he didn't do that until, I don't know, because it was at like minutes 5 or 6. He was still talking his way around loofahs. At least I know what tonight's episode is going to be about. It was going to be about one thing. Now I know it's going to be great loofah games. That's what we'll be talking about tonight. But so this is a podcast you don't really listen to. It kind of just barely pay attention. A little bit like you're watching a cloud float by, and it doesn't really look like anything, and you don't want to force it. So you say, well, it looks like a cloud. It's just floating by. I'm kind of looking at it, but not totally. Mostly just enjoying, enjoying the cloud going by. That's kind of how you listen to this podcast. You say, doesn't look like anything. A little bit lumpy, and but it's floating. It's poofy in spots, or in my case, creaky and dulcet, which would say, yeah, it's got some darker clouds on the underside, on the old underbelly, the underbelly of clouds. There's something that doesn't get any. Like, you say, how come no film noir has been done about the underside of clouds? And, of course, the cloud underworld. You say, where do clouds go when they, the clouds that don't make it into the heavens to fly above us, the cloud underworld? You'd say, well, I guess that would make sense if clouds were sentient beings, and we're, basing our value system on whatever Scoots' imaginary value system is. And you see, yeah, well, Orpheus is down there, I think, with a bunch of clouds. Orpheus in the cloud underworld. It was one of my, if I knew any, like, what that book was about, I'd say that's one of my favorite pieces of fan fiction that Scoots barely made up. Okay, so anyway, so it's a podcast you don't really listen to. The other thing is it really doesn't put you to sleep. It's here while you fall asleep. It's here to keep you company as you drift off. And that's a little bit different, too, is the fact that, yeah, I'm here to be at your side, to be your boyfriend, and to be talking, but not really to put you to sleep. I'm a distraction. But the thing is, if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here, too. That's why the shows are about an hour. You just fall asleep as you wish. But I'll be here. So, and if you wake up, you could put me back on. Some people listen all night. Patreon's a little bit better for that. But yeah, some people, I'll talk more about the structure of the show right now because that's a good segue. So another thing that could throw new listeners off naturally is the structure of the show. Because it's also different than anything that would be considered normal. Then I'll try to explain what a loofah is if I'm going to do an entire episode about loofahs, because I honestly didn't know what a loofah was till at least somewhere between the age of 19 and 24. And I think they were probably invented right around then. I don't know when the loofah was, the artificial loofah. That could be a Devo cover band, don't you think? Artificial loofah. What the heck? Yeah, we're a Devo cover band. You say, what, that cut is so deep, I don't even know if it has anything to do with Devo. You say, not directly, it doesn't. It just should be obvious. Scoots, can you name any Devo songs? Way to put me on the spot. Okay, so anyway, moving on. Artificial Loofah, is that not on that was on a live album, I think. One of those super deluxe, ultra deluxe, okay, so this podcast doesn't really put you to sleep. It's more here to keep you company while you drift off. You don't really listen to it. Oh, and the structure of the show. So the show starts off with a greeting, so you know you're welcome here. Then there's listener support and business. That's how we're able to bring the podcast twice a week for free. That's a few minutes. Then from around minute 6 to minute 20 or so is the intro, which goes on and on and on and on. In some people's, but it serves a purpose. It introduces new people to a podcast, but it gives long-term or, regular listeners the opportunity to ease into bedtime. So it introduces the podcast to new people, and then for everyone else, it's what eases them into bedtime. Some people fall asleep during the intro. Some people get ready for bed, and some people are doing their bedtime routine. Some people listen during the day for a little bit of a break. And about 2% of people skip the intro. And a few thousand patrons listen to story-only episodes, but they don't. Sometimes they make a lot of playlists. That's an adaptable thing. So that's the intro. Then there's business. That's how a podcast structure works, is to have a business in a place called the mid-roll. So there's business, and then there'll be a story. Tonight, I guess it'll be a story about the great Loofah games and probably in our world of Cloud Tower. So that'll be kind of barely interesting enough to put you to sleep. So that's, yes. And then there's thank yous at the end of the show. So that's the structure of the show. More importantly, what's a loofah? And tell me, Scoots, can you tell me I'd say Google, it's probably a Mental Floss article on it. That's way better than what I could tell you. So I can't do that. No, unfortunately, no. But what I can do is, I don't know, what can I do? Is I can be here. Now I got mixed up. Oh, what's a loofah? That's what I was going to say. Okay, like I said earlier, I only became aware of loofahs so a loofah is like a washcloth. I think it was eventually, like at some point, like a sponge and a loofah, they're not interchangeable. I mean, I'm just a little distracted because the first time I used a loofah, my mind was absolutely blown. So I probably lived a few years in the loofah era. I think it's LOOFA. So what is it? It's a plastic thing that looks a bit like a sponge, but it's made from like little plastic threads. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it because it just looks like a loofah. And it kind of, okay, let's break down what it does. Who, what, why, where, and when. Who? Me. I'm telling you what a loofah is. What is a loofah? What does it do? It's part of your cleaning. You're cleaning. Usually you're showering or you're bathing. So some people use a washcloth. Some people use a sponge. Some people use their hands, I guess, and just water. And then some people use a loofah. Now, loofahs became famous in the great exfoliation marketing terminology of the late 90s, I would say. Or early 90s when they said, oh boy, you know what's going to solve it all? Exfoliation. And the ways you're doing it just aren't working, so you need a loofah. But loofahs, unfortunately for the marketers, the loofahs are very inexpensive and pretty resilient. I don't know how long the recommended age of a loofah is. I got to get one. I haven't used one, and it's been a while, like a long while, since I've had a relationship with a loofah. I remember my last loofah just fell apart. It fell apart in the middle, and I had to say goodbye to it. It was beautiful, though, because it turned into a long pink ribbon. It was a pink loofah. Yes, it was. But so it's like a sponge, but it's made from plastic. It's petroleum companies, come on, they need our support in any way possible. And the sponges probably said, thank goodness for those loofahs. But so, I don't know. I can't really do a good job of describing it other than it's something plastic and poofy. Oh, but what blew my mind was, I guess, so I was loofah curious. As I'd seen loofahs before. You know how it is in locker rooms when we're chasing each other around with loofahs. But I said, well, I don't have a loofah of my own. This was at university or whatever. And I think that's probably the first time I saw one. I don't think I used one, but I may have. It would have made sense to have a loofah because it's because it's very efficient. So what you do is you get your loofah wet, and then you rub it on wet soap, and oh boy, does it bubble up. It really does not use a lot of soap, and you get a lot of bubbles. And then supposedly it exfoliates. So the first time I saw it, I said, I can't believe how much bubbles this thing generates. Not good for bubble bathing, just good for cleaning. Like as opposed to a washcloth, a washcloth will have soap in it, and it's pretty good. And I think a washcloth is probably great for exfoliation as well. But the other things are, so the loofah generates much more bubbles, much less soap. Then you just wash it off, and it's plastic. It's very porous, but it doesn't retain any moisture. It catches the soap somehow, but it doesn't hold a lot of water like a sponge or what is that thing called, washcloth would. Another thing that makes it perfect for college-type environments or shared bathrooms. And then, or soap shortage. You say, well, boy, we're low on soap. Just get a loofah, man. You're going to stretch your soap so much further. These are pro tips, I guess, that I had to learn on my own. And I think that's it. Those are the important points about a loofah. It generates a lot of bubbles. I don't have one currently, but I'll get one. And loofah's pretty darn great. Still, I don't know if what use of technology or, where technology meets Mother Nature. There's probably some huge problematic or downside to loofahs I'm not seeing. And, change your loofahs on a regular basis. Don't be like Scoots was, where he wore his loofah down till it just gave up. So that's a loofah. I don't know how, it's a nice thing to say. And this podcast's a bit like a loofah. It's porous. It has a lot of soapy, something similar to soapy bubbles. Serves a purpose. I'm trying to exfoliate the things that are keeping you up at night, and take your mind off of stuff. So hopefully I'm efficient. I guess I'm not efficient. But yeah, I'm here. I'm here to keep you company. So I guess that's it. The reason I make the show is because I've been there, tossing and turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, but also because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place where you could get some rest and some comfort so you could live your life tomorrow. And you deserve sleep on a regular basis. So if I can do that, I'd really be happy to. Now, like I said, this podcast does not work for everybody. But for the people it works for, they did most, I'd say 90% of our regular listeners listened 2 or 3 times, and they said, oh, okay, I get it. It doesn't make any sense at all. So give it a few tries. I really honestly hope I can help because I know how it feels. Obviously, this is the kind of stuff that goes through my brain at nighttime, too. You say, except not in this calm voice. Like for me, the first thing would be I'd get comfortable and say, what are you doing? I say, what do you mean, what am I doing? With cleaning yourself? Well, I don't know. Wait, you said it in a, yeah, why don't you have a loofah? You haven't had a loofah in 4 years. You're doing it wrong. What kind of person does it? Oh, yeah, you're right. So then I don't know if you can relate to that. So I'm here to say, hey, we're all just doing the best we can. Let's keep the loofahs in the bathroom. And no SHAME about loofahs, okay? Yeah, we're all here to try to help. So I'm glad you're here. I work really hard at Your Nice Driver. Really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple ways I'm able to do this for you free twice a week. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and we're starting something new called Surprised by Scoots, where I want to catch you doing something right? I want to surprise you. And this is for anybody that wants to support the show, beyond financially supporting the sponsors or supporting the show directly. Like, in your heart, you love the podcast. In your heart, it's a big part of your life. And in your heart, you say, I love a surprise. Tell me more. Well, all you have to do is tell one person about the podcast. We used to do this one listener initiative. Tell one person about the show genuinely. How does the podcast help you? How's it changed your life? What are your favorite episodes? How did you discover the podcast? What did you think about it at first? Any of those things. Let one person know about it, whether it's online or in person, in a forum, on social media. If you do it, tag me at Dearest Scooter or send me a message through our website, and I'm going to try to surprise some of those people. I've got subscriptions to Sleep With Me Plus. I got a bunch of those to give away. I've got stickers, personal video from Scoot saying, you're surprised. Now, I'm just going to randomly select people, but why wait? This will help the show so much. You're going to help whoever you let know about the podcast, because if the podcast changed your life, there's other people out there that haven't heard about the show. If they don't know about the podcast, you can't help them. They're out there struggling. So let people know about it, but don't spam. Just share your genuine experience with the show, and I'll be looking for you. I'll be looking to catch you and surprise you. Like a little Pikachu. I'm going to catch you if I can, and it's going to be fun. So you could either tag me at Dearest Scooter, that's DearestScooter, or let me know through the form on our website. Thanks, everybody. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts on your mind, thoughts about the present, past, or future. So anything you're thinking about, feelings, anything coming up for you emotionally. Maybe it's related to the thoughts. Maybe it's related to your feelings or physical sensations. Maybe they're just there. You're feeling them. That's good, though. That's a really good thing that you're feeling your feelings. But I'm here to kind of slowly let those drift into the background. It could be physical sensations, could be changes in your routine or your work schedule or something situational. You may work the second or third shift. There may be something, you could have weather-related. What have I ever talked about this? Weather-related WRAs, so weather-related annoyances. I don't know if I've listed those kind of things. Like you say, wind chime. This is my personal opinion, but it's actually my personal opinion. I said wind chimes are great, except when it's really windy. And then because I don't know. This is wow. I've talked about my wind chime before. I think I only have one. It's no longer chiming. But I had to take it off because when it was windy, I could hear it. And you say, well, okay, wind chimes are great in theory or in a non-bed. No, it became a weather-related annoyance for me. Just I think because of where it was. And it's like for a lot of us, a really unpredictable noise can keep us up. But let me get back to that if I remember to. Because I want to welcome, first I got to explain more about how the podcast works. So whatever's keeping I'd like to take your mind off of that. What I propose to do is send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. You've witnessed a few already. Meaning I'm going to get confused and go off topic and kind of go nowhere, all to keep you company while you fall asleep. Now, if you're new, there's a few pieces of information I want to give you to make you feel more comfortable. One, you might not be comfortable now because you see, what is this? This is something new and different and strange. And you may even be skeptical, and I'd say those are totally sensible places to be. I mean, this podcast, yes, it is a bit different. It is a bit strange. And so if you're not sure about it, that I can totally understand that, especially if you've tried other stuff to put you to sleep and you say nothing's worked for me. That makes a lot of sense. So most regular listeners say, give this podcast a few tries. Before, it takes a few tries to stop listening to this podcast as a listener. Usually it only takes like 5 minutes to stop listening to it as a non-listener. But just give it a few tries because we really have nothing to lose here. I'm just here to help take your mind off of stuff. And in that spirit, this is really a podcast you don't really listen to. You just barely pay attention. It's also a podcast that doesn't put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company. I'm applying for the role of bore friend, bore bud, bore bae, bore bestie, bore bruh, bore burr. Your bore bore bestie, bore bud. I said all those, your friend that repeats things. So I'm really here to take your mind off stuff while you fall asleep. That's why the shows are over an hour. So you have plenty of time to drift off. You say, okay, I don't got to worry about it. I got over an hour to fall asleep. And then, what was the other part of that? So no pressure to fall asleep. Oh, also, if you can't sleep, I'm going to be here to the very end. So if you can't sleep situationally, or you're going through something, or you just can't sleep normally, I'm here to keep you company as much as I am to put you to sleep. Those kind of things work in sync somehow. So those are two things to know if you're new. The other things to know that can throw you off. Regular listeners, I already forgot what I was going to go back and talk about. And now I can't think of it. I know I went off topic earlier, but also I have in my brain, I have like an empty bucket or pail in my mind. I said, what was I talking about earlier that I was going to try to talk about again? Oh, my wind chime. Hopefully I'll remember, but our regular listeners know, sometimes I remember stuff, sometimes I forget. But if you're new, structure the show is the next thing you want to know about, because this show does not have any it does have structure, but it's a bit different. So show starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And that's a serious part. It's funny, like sometimes I say something mildly funny, but that part is important. So you feel seen and welcome. That this podcast is here for you to help if it can. So that's the greeting. Then there's listener support and support for the show. So, if you need some extra support right now, there's resources. And then there's the resources so we can be here for you free. Then there's the intro, which is the main thing that can throw new people off, because the intro is somewhere around 12 to 20 minutes long. And so for some people, they feel like it's part of the, I don't know. I guess if you, hopefully you don't listen to it, but if you don't listen to it, if you don't listen to it while listening to it, that's one thing. But I think some people skip through it or fast forward a bit, waiting for me to get to some sort of tangible point. And then they say, what is this intro? It just goes on and on and on and on and on like an advertisement. I say, no, this is a show within a show. It does serve a purpose, or two purposes. One is to introduce you to the show. I just do that in a very ineffective and inefficient way, because the second purpose is to ease you into bedtime. Now, you can skip it. I just went on a podcast and the person said, yeah, I start the show at 20 or 30 minutes in. I say, that's great. And that's about 3% of listeners. And some people, if you like just story only or intro only, or you listen all night, you might be, those people are on Patreon. But, you could also do it with this, whatever works for you. But those are smaller slices of the listenership. Most people, they listen to Sleep With Me, and the intro is part of their wind down routine or their getting comfortable routine. So there you are, my regular listeners. You're in bed waiting for me to talk about or see if once again, I can't remember. I had it, and then I forgot. I said, I was going to talk about my wind chime, which I just almost called a bird chime because it is a bird. So the intro kind of goes on and on and on to give you some distance from the day so you can get comfortable, whether you're doing it as part of your getting ready for bed routine or your wind down routine or you're in bed getting cozy. It gives us some distance and lets us come in for a landing. So that's why it takes 12 to 20 minutes because that's about what I've found over the years. How long it takes to ease, because I don't know, in other situations, and I've been in this, where I'm in a hurry to go to bed, and that just never works. I say, okay, I don't have time for any of that bedtime stuff. I got to get to sleep. And I can hear some sort of cackling as soon as I say that, like a knowing cackle. And I said, well, but I got to get to sleep now because I got to get up for that thing. And I was messing around before, and now I got to get to bed. And that just, so for the most part, if I can, I want to ease you into bedtime. So that's why the intro is so long and pointless for you and also my natural ability. Then there's a business between the intro and the show. That's just like where some of the sponsors like their business as people are just getting ready to turn in. And then there's our episode. Our bedtime story tonight will be a very special a return to a character in a new season. So it'll be just a nice little bedtime story. This episode tonight takes place at a bed and breakfast. What better place for a bedtime story than a bedtime storyteller at a bed and breakfast? And then there'll be thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. The reason I make the show is twofold. One, you deserve a good night's sleep because you do. You deserve some rest, and you deserve to be rested tomorrow so you can live your life. And the other side of it is, like, I've been there, speaking of this wind chime. So this wind chime, I have talked about it before, I think. Because when I moved, my daughter and I moved a few years ago to a new apartment, and I said, well, what are we going to get as a housewarming gift? And I let her pick out a wind chime, because finally we had a place to put a wind chime, because we have a deck. So she picked out one, and it was a bamboo chimes on a carved piece of wood that was an owl. And I said, wow. Now, this wind chime, and it had rope or string instead of, I don't know what else they put on wind chimes, but if our first year here, it gets a lot of wind, this wind chime, and so it deteriorated. It fell apart. And each year in the spring, this sounds like at the beginning of an Epcot Center video. Each year in the spring, we rehabilitate the wind chime with fishing line that I bought. And we replace we put all the bamboo. I think there's one piece of bamboo that did fly away last winter, or one of the winters that we've been here. But the other thing is that when it does make it through the winter, the parts of the winter it's making it through successfully, like my window just happens to be below the deck. So it is so, like, that thing is, like I said, what in the heck? Even if I close my window, I can still hear it. And I say, as much as I love you, you're driving me chimes. You're making me chimey. You're chiming me nuts. So I have to take it down. I just noticed that yesterday because when I'm recording this, it's the end of March and, spring is kind of springing. And so I was trying to clean up the deck and I said, hey, there's the wind chime there on the ground. I said, how you doing? I said, I'd like to chime. I said, well, maybe like two more weeks. We're expecting a little more rain and wind here. And I don't want to overcommit. And plus, it's like, that's the worst time if it's raining and windy to have to go back upstairs, find, it's like something to step on to reach the hook that it's on. But this is a person that makes a podcast, a person that does, I think there's people that just fall asleep and they're like, they don't have whatever weather related annoyances, because they're snoring through it or whatever, but I'm not that person. So that's why I make this show, because I can relate to how it feels, whether it's a weather-related noise or something else that's keeping you awake, and I'd like to help. I really appreciate you coming by. I really work hard on this show, believe it or not, but because not just because I work hard on it, because I yearn and I strive to help you fall asleep. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to do it for you for free twice a week. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, you're thinking about from the past, the present, or the future, feelings, anything emotionally coming up for you, physical sensations, changes in schedule or time, changes in schedule or time or temperature, routine. Somebody, you could have, whatever's going on, whatever is keeping you awake. I'd like to take your mind off of that and help you fall asleep. And what I plan to do or attempt to do is create a safe place. I'm going to smooth it. I'm going to pat it. I'm going to rub it down. I'm going to say safe place. I'm going to try to send my voice across the deep, dark night here. Use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I'm going to go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. Then I'm going to go back. I'm going to say, wait a second. What is I like? All to take your mind off stuff so you could fall asleep. Now, if you're a regular listener, I'm so glad you're here again. I'm so happy to keep you company, be your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore cuz, your bore sib, your bore bestie. If you surf those tasty waves, don't taste the waves, by the way. I learned that the hard way. But if you surf those tasty waves, I could be your Barbara. Because you say, well, I taste the wave, and not when I was I wasn't surfing the tasty wave. The wave kind of came up and said, hey, let me give you a kiss. And I said, well, actually, I like the wave. Here's the thing. Well, waves, I like how you taste, but it's probably not the best idea to be tasting you on a regular basis. If you're new, I'm glad you're here. Let me give you some information because this podcast is very different. And the first time, the second time, even the third time you listen to it, it could really throw you off because it's so different. So a couple of things to know. One, this is a podcast you don't really listen to. You just kind of barely observe it, kind of like waves coming in. Like sometimes you're at the beach or you're watching a wave-based video, wave WBV, or, wave-centric video, or just a video of waves, VOW, man, or video with waves. Whatever waves, like however you consume your waves, most of the time it's a passive or somewhat passive consumption. I mean, there's people out there, if you're swimming or in the waves, that's different. Or if you're in some sort of profession, science-based or ecology-based or bio-based, I guess that's science. Those are sciences, but, or, you work on the shoreline. Or your boat, yeah, of course, everybody working in the sea, you may be observing the waves in a different way. If you just happen to be a sentient breakwater, you say, Scoots, my relationship with waves is much different. I say, well, by the way, it's great to have a sentient breakwater listening to the show. I think I've achieved my life's purpose. Keeping you, you're breaking the water. It doesn't get tougher than that. So just like if you're watching the waves, sometimes you're watching them pretty closely, but a lot of times you're just chilling You know what I'm saying? This podcast is like that. You say, well, I'm kind of paying attention to what Scoots is saying, but I'm also not really paying attention. So that's one thing. This is also a podcast that doesn't really put you to sleep. It keeps you company while you fall asleep. And what I mean by that is that I'm here to take your mind off of stuff and barely keep you engaged while you fall asleep. That's why the shows are over an hour, to give you plenty of time to drift off. But if you can't sleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night, or whatever it is, I'm going to be here to the very end. So if you have some sort of, reason you can't fall asleep, I'll be here to keep you company, whether you're awake or asleep. And you don't need to listen. You just could listen if you need to, right? It's kind of a reverse. Don't need to listen, but if you need to, I'll be here. So those are two new things for new listeners. Regular listeners, hello again. All the fishes out there. How about a shout out to sentient breakwaters? And if there's any sentient docks or pylons, other things in the water, I'd love to hear from you. Sentient lighthouses, send me a message. Unless you're a sentient lighthouse from a Jeff Vandermeer novel, then don't reach out to me, please. Like, definitely don't. Or buoys. Holy cow, would I love to hear from some buoys? Because then I could do I guess that could be a segment if I had a sentient podcast. This is a podcast for sentient objects in the sea. What would we call that? It wouldn't be Seacast. Script Notes, a podcast about screenwriting and things interesting to screenwriters. Buoycast would be the podcast about being a buoy and things interesting to buoys or buoy workers. But then I could say buoy, oh, buoy. How many ways could I say I love thee? Even though that doesn't exactly go with the song. I'd say, oh, buoy, buoy. I love saying that. Has there ever been a cartoon about someone who lives in a buoy under the sea? You'd say, well, I'm not a buoy anymore. I'm a artificial reef now. Okay, so sorry, new listeners. This is where I go, new listeners or nude listeners. Either way, I say, I have a tendency to go off topic. It's trying to tell you. So other things that can throw you off. So it's a podcast you don't really listen to. It doesn't really put you to sleep. Give us the good news. Oh, the structure's also very different. Show starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So hopefully buoys and sentient sea beings, inanimate objects that have become animate in my mind, I just kind of do so you feel seen and welcome. Then there's support for listeners. Then there's support for the show, for Patreon and our sponsors. Then there's the intro. So around 8 minutes into the show, the intro starts. And the intro goes around 10, 12, 15, 20 minutes. It just depends on how long it takes me to introduce the concept of the podcast. But it's basically a show within a show. And sometimes this is not about you, new listener, but some new listeners give up on it too early or they fast forward through it because it is so different. So I'd say kind of ride it out, just like a buoy rides out, whether it's calm or try to. Because what you might discover is that only 3% of regular listeners skip the intro. And then a few thousand regular listeners that support the show on Patreon, they listen in different ways, like all night playlists or story only playlists or all intro playlists. But the rest of listeners are happy to just kind of listen as it unfolds. And because one, they get to listen for free and whenever they want. But two, because the structure of the show eases you into bedtime instead of just putting you to sleep right away. Just like a lighthouse, ideally you see it far out. You say, okay, that's a lighthouse. So I know that's coming up eventually. That's what this podcast does is the intro goes on and on and on. So most regular listeners, though there's no right or wrong way to do it, they might be in bed getting comfortable, doing something relaxing, or they might be getting ready for bed, or they might just be in their room or another room doing something to unwind. and, is playing it on their phone speaker or their smart speaker or the headphones or whatever. And that just gives you some distance between the daytime and when you're going to sleep. Because for me, there's never been an instant sleep solution. And what I found from feedback is that most people, it takes like 15, 20 minutes for us to get wound down and ready, the last part of getting ready for bed to drift off. Or you could just be cozy in bed listening for 15 or 20 minutes. Hopefully, that's a lot less than whatever you were dealing with before this show. Like for me, I'd say, wow, if I could just lie in bed and listen to something nice for 15 minutes to 30 minutes, that's way better than what it was like before. So that's the intro. Then there's business between the intro and the story. That's just how we keep it free and podcast structure works. And then there's our story. Tonight will be a look at a Star Trek TNG, The Next Generation episode. But you don't need to have listened or seen Star Trek but to be familiar. I'll tell you it in a nice bedtime story way. So that's, what else do you need to know? Structure the show. Oh, the reason I make the show. The reason I make the show is twofold. One is I've been there, tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. And I know how it feels. It's not pleasant. So if I can help you, like with something I know how it feels that doesn't feel good, that's nice. But what's even nicer is the fact that you deserve a good night's sleep. And if I can help with that, that would be my honor, right? Like, because our world would be a better place. If you're rested tomorrow, your life is better, like even if it's incrementally better, or then if you start to get rest on a regular basis, the rest you need and deserve, maybe you could be out there flourishing. But even a little bit rested, our world's going to be a better place to live in because I want you to get the rest you need. Whether it's through this show or you find out Sleep With Me doesn't work for you, you could check out our sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. But I mean, that's my main message. I mean, I'm really glad you're here. Give the show a few tries. That's what hundreds of thousands of people have said. Hey, it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to. So give it a few tries. I really hope it can help. I really appreciate you coming by and checking out the podcast. And I really hope I yearn and I strive. I really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple ways I'm able to be here for you free on a regular basis. Thanks. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. Could be thoughts, things on your mind. Could be feelings, something like, so things about the past, present, or future, or emotions related to thoughts, emotions that are just there. Emotions, your feelings, physical sensations, or it could be something else. It could be changes in time, temperature, schedule, someone else's schedule, like whatever. You got changing. It could be humidity. I mean, it definitely, there's a high percentage of chance sometimes parts of the year, it could be humidity related. Maybe sometimes you don't even, like, that would be like something you say, well, I didn't even realize that. Gives me, there's something else to think about, but what percentage of humidity is in my place when it's not humid? But to check that, what is it? But is it always humid? Most places, depends on how you define humid. Well, that's a great thing to wonder about later. Hopefully I'll come back to that because I'm sure there is a standard. Of course, probably they say, well, in the U.S., you picked your own standard. Everywhere else in the world, yes, it's a base one. We measure it with the metric system, just so you know. Except, we're like in the empire, they have you have the imperialist system, the colonialist system, and the rest of the world uses metric system. I'm just being lighthearted, but I bet, and they say, yeah, everywhere else, this is how we measure humidity. That's not a barometer, right? Barometer, measures barometric pressure. Holy cow, my brain just remembered something on the first try. Oh, sorry, though. I'm here doing an intro for a sleep podcast. So let me refocus. So whatever's keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off of that. What barometric pressure, that could be something that you say, well, yeah, I'm feeling that barometric pressure. I'm sure some people are sensitive to that. I'm not even kidding either. I mean, you hear those things about people saying, their body parts they say, well, winds are coming soon. I could feel it in my elbow. Is that why you're dipping your elbow in milk? No, that's because that person on the sleep podcast invented that as a way of self-soothing. And then he even said, yeah, don't throw out your cereal milk. Well, one, most people drink it, but two, I'll dip my elbow in it later. You say, Pop, no. If you want to live with us, you can't do that because then you just leave. There's bowls of uncovered milk in the cereal milk in the refrigerator. No, that's elbow milk for dipping elbows. It's so good, and you everybody can feel good about it when you dip your elbows in. And they say, is that why you started doing yoga, Pop? Because I wanted to be able to do a downward dog into. Dipping my kneecaps into milk. And yeah, you could use a milk alternative, of course. But why, Pop? Because, because it feels nice. But it got on my rug. Okay, well, you're right. We do have to work towards a solution. I understand that I got some milk on your rug, and I apologize. Wow, we just had a breakthrough here live on what was supposed to be so what I'm going to try to do, how did elbow milk has come up on this podcast before. Was that a solution that came up for barometric, if you're feeling pressured by the barometrics? What if that's that could be someone, like you say, well, that was my life with, a third-rate glam rock band. Pressured by the barometric, it was all about peer pressure from the barometrics. So, okay, so where am I here? Oh, whatever's keeping me awake, I'm going to take your mind off that. I'm going to try to create a safe place. Yo, did you see that? That was a kind of safe place. There was I guess that's somewhere in my mind. There is it sounds like a daughter and a father thing. Maybe my mind working out my subconscious trying to work out future problems. Then, 10 years from now, they'll tell me those things at night. And I say, I don't need this for another 20 years or 30 years. I say, well, let's start thinking about it right now because we've been processing it for 10 years. But whatever's keeping me awake, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. Oh, these tones are so creaky are these tones. And some people say, why are they creaky? Or a lot of reviews lately have said, yeah, I didn't really think, I don't know why the creaky, dulcet, and neither do I. That's what I would say. They work because... I don't know. There is something. Whoa, boy, we're going to go way far afield. So if you're a regular listener, you're in for a real factoid, because listeners love when I reveal stuff. And this is something I haven't talked about. So if you're a regular listener, I'm going to go on a tangent and then I'll try to introduce the podcast. But this is what happens anyway, every single episode. And this is not backed up by science, but so I used to have this way I would self-soothe, so regular listeners or new listeners, and it's indirectly related to creaky dulcet tones, but it comes from the same vibration that I can feel, and hopefully you could feel in your ears right now, where I'm trying to comfort you. And it's almost like trying to create a audio safe place that has this physical aspect. I mean, that's one of my goals, right? And I did have this way of self-soothing in my poor roommates, because it was particularly if I had, back in my day when I was out there, as they say, and I was imbibing too much, particularly, though I would do it even when I wasn't imbibing too much, but only if I did not feel good. And I would do the same vibration right now that I'm using the creaky, dulcet tones. You could feel that, right? That vibration right there. But I would just make noises, which I can't do it like now. You could email me and I'll try to record something. Just because if I do it right now and then someone's listening to episode after episode and they hear me kind of groaning, like it's a bit like that, though, that would be the closest I could do without it being, waking somebody up and they say, what is that? Why is Scooter groaning? And I used to do that in bed. My roommate, Chris, he was my roommate for 3 different years. This poor young man, a great person. He was the one that had to deal with it the most. And I would lie there and I'd sometimes, and it would just soothe me, particularly if I had too much to drink and then I started not feeling good. Or if I had so much that I was like full limbic, I don't know what full limbic means, but I was so relaxed. I would just make this noise. Or other times I did not feel good. And it wasn't just a groaning. It was like something much more subconscious. Even though I was aware of it, not like a groan. A groan comes from more of your upper palate. This comes from the creaky dulcet zone, which is in the back of the throat. You can feel it, right? And it's comforting. So that's kind of where, the counterintuitiveness of the creaky dulcet tones is the creaky dulcet tones you could feel. That's the main thing. I want you to feel something like comfort or distraction. So, I don't know, I could talk about it more at some point, but anyway, new listeners, sorry, that was a little behind the BTS, as they say, but not, BTS, the super group, or the group that's super. Okay, so if you're new, a couple things to know. One, you've already figured this out, though. This podcast is very different, and it is not for everybody. But please give it a few tries for your sake, not for mine. I only want you to listen if the podcast is going to work for you. But the majority of people's experience is it takes 2 or 3 tries and you say, oh, okay, I get the creaky dog. I get that I don't listen to him. So see how it goes. But if you're skeptical or doubtful, that makes total sense. Or even if you're like, I don't think I like this, but I'm not sure yet. Just see how it goes. So that's that. What else? Oh, so give it a few tries. It doesn't work for everybody. I hope it works for you. It's a podcast you don't really listen to. You just kind of barely pay attention. So you say, okay. Just like that. Just like other times where you could get called out for pretending to listen. Here, you just kind of actively do it. You say, holy cow, I just went full creaky. I think I over-creaked my creaky dulcets. So you could just, you say, okay, yeah, so you groaned in bed, eh? Wow. So just kind of pretend to listen. Also, this podcast does not really put you to sleep. It's more here to keep you company as you fall asleep versus putting you to sleep, which is why the shows are over an hour. So you don't have any tension. You say, oh, they're over an hour. I got plenty of time to fall asleep. Oh, I don't have to worry about it. And if I can't sleep, Scoots is going to be there to keep me company. That's really my job, to keep you company as you fall asleep. Or if you can't sleep, or if you wake up, I'm here. There's plenty of people that listen that aren't asleep right now. And they're here with us, kind of sitting around, feeling those creaky dulcets. So they're keeping us company too, which is pretty nice. Or we're keeping one another company across the deep, dark night, across the globe. There is this strange solidarity. That's why I call it the deep, dark night. So whether you're awake or asleep, that's the other important thing is, yeah, if you can't sleep, I'm here. If you can, and you're not listening, I'm here for you to not listen to. Great little deal. So it's a podcast that doesn't put you to sleep. You don't really listen to it. So just tell us the good parts. Well, let me tell you more of the stuff that's harder to get used to. Other than that we're already 10 minutes into the show, which it goes into the structure of the show, which also can evoke really strong feelings, particularly with regular podcast listeners. because it doesn't follow a normal structure. Show starts off with a greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So everybody's welcome, kind of like a greeter that says, hey, come on in. We're glad you're here. Then there's business. Oh, then there's stuff to support listeners. Then there's business. So that's kind of interdependent stuff. I want to support you, and the show needs support to stay free. So there's business. That takes about 6 minutes or so, maybe 8 or whatever. Then there's somewhere around 14 to 24 minutes of me introducing the podcast in introduction. As you hear here, where I go off topic and go on tangents or, think about humidity and never go back to it, and then explain what creaky dulcet tones are, and then try to explain what the podcast is. And so for a new person or some person that doesn't like the intro, the good thing is you could just skip the intro or most of it. If you start the show at 20 minutes, you might have to listen to a few minutes of intro and business. But you get to do that for free. Or you patrons, a couple thousand patrons, listen to all intro or all story only episodes. Believe it or not, though, there's even more patrons that listen to intro only episodes. So if you're new, just kind of the main reason is to try it out, is to kind of see how it goes. But the reason the intro goes on and on and on is because I don't know if you're like a lot of the listeners, like 2% skip the intro. But for most people, we need a way to ease into bedtime and get some distance and quiet things down so that we can get to sleep. If it was as simple as closing a door or turning a switch, you might not be listening to this podcast anyway. And so the intro serves to be a part of your bedtown routine, your wind down routine, or your bed down routine. So if you're getting ready for bed, or you're in bed, or you're doing something calming and comforting, it could be part of that routine. And part of that routine is you're drifting away slowly. So to get some distance from whatever keeps you awake, and kind of almost to sneak into bedtime in some sense. To sneak you past those threshold guardians that, at least for me, that get in the way. So that's why the intro really goes on and on and on. Is it just what we've seen work over time is this little method. And then it really becomes something a lot of people grow out of listening to the podcast in this beautiful way, because they built a bedtime routine with Sleep With Me. And then they realize, the other parts of my bedtime routine work just fine. Now I know Sleep With Me will be there if I have something going on, but otherwise I don't need it anymore. And that for me, listeners graduating from the show, like, that's awesome. And I know that, just like, everybody, there's seasons of life, so maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't, maybe they'll just tell somebody else about it. It's not a big deal. I'm here to help you and keep you company while you need it. So that's why the intro goes on and on and on. But if you have strong feelings about it, again, just see how it goes, because it really serves a purpose, and the purpose is to give you some distance from daytime and bedtime, and then the business is to keep it free. So, then after the intro is more business. That's just how podcast structure works. Then there'll be a story. And tonight will be a real treat. We got Bernie the Butterfly coming by to tell us a story with a pretty long setup, like a little bit of story, a whole lot of setup about a water strider and a lily pad, which seems to be Bernie's kind of favorite subject matter as of late. So that'll be nice. And then there's thank yous at the end. So that's the structure of the show. The other thing to know that's important is that you are important. The reason I make the show is because you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place to respite where you could get a little space and a little break. And that's why I make the show, is because our world would be a better place if your world's a better place. Even if, ideally you get into a place where you're flourishing, but if you just get a little rest, it's going to be a little bit nicer. And the other reason is because I know how it feels on the other side when it's not so nice, and it's tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. I got all those thoughts, feelings, physical sensations. So for me to help you when I know how it feels in the deep, dark night, the feelings and all that. It's my honor. So I think that's it. I'm glad you're here. I really hope I can help you. I really work hard. I earn a nice drive. Again, I hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And when your hand hits the fridge tomorrow, remember, here's a couple of ways I'm able to bring this podcast to you twice a week. Hey, this is Scoots with the Tuck You In message. Two-parter Tuck You In message. So let me go to the second part first, even though I haven't read it at all. I mean, if you're still listening to me, I hope I'm bringing you and brought you comfort in the deep, dark night. And you know there's plenty of other episodes to choose from, plenty of other episodes coming out this week, coming out soon. Or maybe you're just barely hearing me, or maybe you've queued it up and this is just playing. But I don't know if any of the messages we've been putting in the show for the past year you've heard them and they've landed with some part of you, like a part of you in your heart, about supporting the show, because I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, right? If you can't support the show, you can't support the show. If you don't want to, you choose not to, or you think the show doesn't, deserve your support or need your support in a strong way, that's fine too. But if you've been putting off supporting the show, where you're like, I know the show, I realize the show needs my support, but like that's in your heart, but there's something else in your head, right? Some other part of you that's been standing in your way. I'll do it tomorrow. One day I'll do it. Or the most the menacing for us, or the biggest obstacle for us, my support doesn't matter. There's no way my $7, my $60 supporting the show just for a few months while I listen to it can matter. I'm here to tell you, or one day I'll support the show that if you already in your heart know you want to support the show, and you already in your heart know if Sleep With Me goes away or changes drastically or goes behind a paywall, you'd miss it and you'd be disappointed, and it might even impact your sleep or whatever, like the show's a part of your life. Please don't wait. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Your $7 a month, your $60 a year will actually change the future of the podcast. It's all a matter of me getting through the people who've already decided in their heart to support the show, but there's something in their head or their feelings or their brain bots that's in the way. And I just need to get through to you that it's like, we are in a don't wait situation, and so, and we don't need to be like, so I just got to try to get through to everybody, but I also want to get through to the people who can't support the show, right? I love making this podcast, and we're launching something fun for the people who want to, you say, well, I want to support the show, I just can't do it financially. I want to be a part of this thing, but I can't be a part of it financially, like, because for a lot of listeners, it's ironic. There's some listeners that's the $7, you think it won't help the show, but there's a lot of listeners that $7 is out of reach for them, and I've been in that place too. But I'm here to try to catch you doing something right, as they say, and something fun. If you want to support the show by spreading the word about the podcast, letting one person know about the podcast, just genuinely sharing your honest experience about the podcast, you sharing with one person, whether it's in person or online, can also change the future of the podcast, right? Because 1 out of every 100 people does support the show. So it's like, if you and 99 other people do that, like it's the same. If you do it, 99 other people are likely to do it. But letting people know about the podcasts that are going to benefit from it, you're helping our podcast keep going. You're helping that person, because Sleep With Me is a niche, right? the people that don't know about Sleep With Me that could really use it, they don't know about it yet. And maybe you letting somebody know about it, it changes their life. Or they let somebody else know about it and it changes that person's life. And I don't know if you know how powerful that is, but I think you could pause and feel it right now, right? If you're listening right now, the podcast is probably a big part of your life. And like I said earlier, it's a big part of your heart. And we used to call this a one-person initiative, and we're bringing it back. No more signing up for the referral program. I mean, we'll do stuff where you could sign up, but I'm going to be out there. Tag me at Dear Scooter or email me through the website, message me through our website form. Let me know how you're spreading the word. Do it in a fun, genuine way. Don't spam. Just let people know how you discovered the show. What do you like about the show? What are your favorite things? What silly things have you heard? How has it changed your life or your relationship with sleep? How's it impacted your day? And here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be looking for people, and I'm going to surprise them. When you surprise me by spreading the word about the show, I have free Sleep With Me Plus memberships from our scholarship program that Cornelia started, and other people that have supported the show for people that aren't in a position to support the show. So I'll be giving out 3-month memberships to Sleep With Me Plus to some people. Maybe I'll send stickers to some people. Maybe I'll send you a personal video thanking you. Maybe other things. Who knows what surprises I have in store. And it'll be fun for everybody. You'll be changing the life of the podcast that you care about. If you do, you don't. If you don't, it does. Like if you don't have to participate in this. But if you do, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be out there looking, or you could message me through the form on our website. Let me know tell me the story of how you participated, how you spread the word. And again, I can't surprise everybody. I hope I get to surprise one person tomorrow that's doing that. So don't spam, but make sure to tag me. And if you get really active, you might end up like a couple people that were a part of our referral program. Victor got pretty much a lifetime subscription to Sleep With Me Plus because he spreads the word so much and so often. And Cornelia's entire scholarship program, she brought thousands and thousands of listeners to the show just by spreading the word in a genuine way where she knew people could use it. So tag me, at Dearest Scooter. That's with a T, DEAREST, Scooter, SCOOTER. Or if you're in the pen and paper world, put up a poster or whatever, a sign in the laundromat and say, hey, if you can't sleep, check out Sleep With Me podcast. Or let me know how you let people know about it in a genuine, friendly way. I can't surprise anybody that's just like going up to random strangers or whatever, but that's not sleepy at all. But thanks so much for listening. And again, those are the two huge ways, because this is like, we've been building towards this, unfortunately. And this has never been a time where more people are no longer in a position to support the show. They've had to stop their support of the podcast. It's a time of, and just like everybody else, the podcast is in this place where it's like, man, this is really tough. But the beauty is we don't need to be in that position where it's like, what's going to happen here? I just got to get through to the people that have been putting it off. So you've been putting off supporting the show? Honestly, don't wait another second. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Sign up right now. Or if you've been putting off support, I love this Sleep With Me, I'll do it tomorrow. Come up with a plan to do it tomorrow. Spread the word and say, man, I want to be surprised by a scooter. Thanks.